In this video, let's take a look at using the Traverse drawing settings to add point labels to a survey. This is a site survey we did for our local hospital here. I'm going to zoom in down on the south corner of this property. And you can see I've got point labels with a description on 22 and point number 1 here. If I want to just jump in real quick to the data that's drawing this traverse, I can right-click anything that's part of this point symbol or this point label and go to Edit Traverse. And Traverse PC says this is drawn by the CSF 29033 Wabi Traverse. And notice here in the description, I've got 3 points that have descriptors on them, points 11, 17, and 22. Now, if I move this up, I can see I've got a few more here as well. Point 1 has a description, point 10 has a description. So to include these, I need to tell the traverse to include descriptions with the point label. Let me show you how we do this. I'm going to double click anything that's part of this traverse. It can be this label, this symbol here, or this line. It doesn't really matter. But as soon as I double click it, Traverse PC brings up the traverse drawing settings. I also could have right-clicked any of those and selected traverse drawing settings here as well. Now I'm looking at the control points and the side shots, and I'm going right to this section here called points. And I'm telling Traverse PC that I want to include both the point label and the description with these points. Now, if I had turned description off, and I'm going to choose apply here, I would see just the point number or point label. But I turned description on, so Traverse PC included those for every point that had a description. Now, I also could have come in and said, let's say I'm doing a topo here, and I want to see what those elevations are. I could have the elevation of each one also. Now, this is just some deed information, so there's no elevations there to show. I also could come in and tell Traverse PC that I want to put these particular labels at a certain angle. This is a math angle. So 20 degrees would be clockwise from those points. And that might give me a little more room to see here what I'm doing. I can also come in here and change the font size if I want these to be just a little larger so I can see them a little bit better. That's just fine. And then, of course, once I have those labels on there, I can come in and move those around. Now, even though I move this label around, no matter where I put it, if I put the cursor over it, it always knows that it's the point label for point 22, and it tells me that right here in the tooltip. So I can always right-click, go to Modified Attributes, and reset it. Now, this is going to reset just the position because that's the only thing I've changed on it. And then I can move it to a little bit better place here. Okay, let's run on up and take a look at a place where we've got some additional points labeled in here. And let's just take a look at some of our other options. So I've got a couple of points right over the top of each other here. I'm going to double click them again to bring up those traverse settings, traverse drawing settings. And this time I'm going to tell Traverse PC, put a leader on those. And let's also put those down at minus 20 degree angle. The leader is nice because now as I move these out of the way, Traverse PC draws a leader to the original point. So no matter how far I move them out, I know which one is which. Just kind of a nice little thing. I don't use leaders all that often, but sometimes they can be really, really helpful. Now, I'm going to leave point labels on and have these descriptions showing while I'm working with this survey and deciding what I'm going to do, putting the reports together and everything. But when I go to the Planning Commission or to the Board of Directors here, they don't really care what these point labels are. So I really have a couple of options. One is I can just go to the layers and say, I want to turn off all these point labels. So let's just drag this over here and choose off. So they're gone. If I want them back on, I just choose on and they're back on. So that's one way to remove the labels when I don't want them, because I'm going to print a final exhibit and I don't want to have those labels there. Or I can come in and say, you know what, I don't need the point labels anymore here. So I can go into the traverse drawing settings, and maybe I just don't need them for this one right here, but I want to leave those descriptions on. So I can go around and say, I want just the descriptions, but I don't want the point labels, or I can turn everything off all at once. It's kind of up to me. A couple different ways to do that. I think most of you will choose just to turn the point labels off when you finally go to submit it to the county or the planning commission or whatever. There are lots more we could show you about point labels, but I think this is enough to kind of get you started here.